Okay, I promised I'd come right back to do the cross examination of Dr. Kelly McDonough, who's an ER nurse the night they brought Lindsay Clancy into the hospital, or the I do not recall lady. Yeah, you've probably heard about her all over TikTok already. She was the one that caused quite a disruption yesterday in court and isn't getting rave reviews this morning. Let's put it that way. I compared her to Jen McCabe, if you know, you know. But here we go. I love Kevin Reddington and the way he is doing this defense. Um, it's been widely said, any attorney on here, anybody who's ever gone into court can say, don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. And what I love about him is he acts like he doesn't know the answer. He plays down like he doesn't understand, or tell me what you mean by this, and then he goes in for a zinger. Okay, so he's asking her. Okay, he says, so when Lindsay arrived, you're saying that she was non-responsive. And she says, well, she wasn't verbally responsive. She said her eyes were open, but she was non-verbal. Okay. Was she responsive to pain? Yes, she was responsive to pain. And people with brain injuries still respond to certain stimuli. And she said, yes, they can. He asked if her pupils were reactive. So remember when I spoke in the last video, how I was talking about the doctor, the two doctors, both doctors that were treating Callan said that his pupils were unresponsive. And when the pupils are unresponsive, that typically means that there is some sort of brain injury, because maybe it's lack of oxygen, maybe it's something else, or some swelling on the brain that causes now the pupils cannot dilate anymore. Well, he's asking her, were her pupils reactive? And she says, I can't recall. Now, I kept a tally, and there were at least 21 times where this doctor says, I can't recall, I'm not sure, I don't have the records in front of me. Like, basically, you might as well just plead the fifth at this point, right? Because it's clear she doesn't want to answer the questions. She does confirm that sometimes if pupils aren't reactive to light, that could be a neurological injury, which is exactly what they said about Callan. That's how they knew that Callan had a neurological injury. When Lindsay arrived, they immediately intubated her. And he said, was she given any pain medication? Because remember, Callan wasn't. Was Lindsay given pain medication? And she says, oh, yes, we always give it. And he goes, great, which one? And she's like, well, there's a host of them. And he's like, which one was given to Lindsay Clancy? And she's like, I can't recall. And he says, can you confirm she was given some? And she's like, well, I can't recall, but I'm sure we did. So, I mean, I'm going to say, I'm going to be fair, I'm sure they did. But the fact that she can't recall, like, I just don't have the records in front of me. He's like, did you review the records? Like, you knew you were going to be a witness in a murder trial. Did you not look at the records? Well, I did. I just don't have a photographic memory. He asked again about her body temperature, and she couldn't remember. When he did say to her, but you're the lead doctor in the ER. And she's like, well, I wasn't the lead. We work together. Did she ever regain consciousness? No. And she said, he asked her about CFS, which is cerebral spinal fluid. Did you notice this? Nope, I didn't. This would be a leakage of fluid out the nose, which would indicate a potential brain injury. She says she can't recall if there was any fluid ever coming out of her nose. What she did say was that there was a thoracic neck injury, but she doesn't remember the level, anywhere between T1 and T12, and she doesn't remember where the injury was. There was a transsectional injury at T5, T6. She explained that this is where the spine is no longer aligned. It's like severed, and it's kind of like side by side, so it's no longer in a straight row. She managed to remember that. Normal body temperature is 98.6. Lindsay came in at 82.1. And Dr. McDonough cannot recall in the 4 hours that they had Lindsay at South Shore that she was the lead doctor in the emergency room. They put her on warming blankets. They were all kinds of things to raise her temperature, yet she can't recall. In all of their attempts to stabilize Lindsay, to transport her to a place where she could get tertiary care, if I'm saying that right, which would be the Brigham, I think it's Brigham and Women's Hospital. In all that 4 hours that they had, she cannot recall if they managed to raise Lindsay's body temperature. Now, I will say, she's at South Shore. So, of course, she couldn't answer questions about what happened to Lindsay when she got to Boston's Brigham and Women's Hospital, but there was a cardiac arrest. She coded. They revived her. She was given a massive transfusion of blood. Dr. McDonough can't recall if Lindsay was restrained to her bed at South Shore. Was she restrained? Was she handcuffed? Was she under arrest at that point? So she was asked some questions like that, and a lot of stuff she couldn't recall. The next witness, witness number 5, is Rose Stoffers. She is a sergeant with the Massachusetts State Police. She collects fingerprints, she collects evidence, she does the photograph. So I think a lot of it was about the photograph. She said she was called to the hospital at 8:35 p.m. This is South Shore Hospital that night. She was the one that had to go in and photograph Lindsay. So she had like the collar on. She was covered by blankets. She pulled her arms out from under the blanket. She said Lindsay kind of fought with them a little bit when they started like trying to reach for her arms. She said it was very hot in the room, and the blanket was a warming blanket. She noticed there was gauze on the wrists. Somebody helped her remove it so they could photograph it. So she did observe the injuries, and she photographed the injuries. She also photographed Lindsay's personal belongings and clothing. We saw photos of that in previous witnesses. And then on February 6th, Rose Stoffers was called back to the detective office. A Detective Rabbit called her into his office to photograph a bag of medications that had been brought to the police department. Now, they didn't say who brought those in. I don't know if that was Patrick or if the defense, when the defense went through the home and found medicine bottles, if they brought them in. I'm not sure who brought them to the police station, but they were there, and she was asked to come and photograph them. The prosecution keeps trying to treat all of these witnesses as if this was a crime they had to solve, and therefore they all were much more intricately involved with the solving of the case, even though we already knew Lindsay Clancy did it. We already know, and we've always said Lindsay Clancy killed her kids. But on cross, he clarifies that she didn't go to the home and do any evidence collecting at the home. And he actually even says at the beginning, which I love, he's like, I'm sorry, what did you say your title was? Trooper, chemist? And she's like, I'm a sergeant. And I'm thinking, why did he say chemist? It's because he wants the jury to know this person is not like a scientist of any manner. He's a police officer who takes photos and collects fingerprints. So he was trying to roll that out so people wouldn't think she was some sort of criminal expert. I've got more testimony to watch. Please keep coming back for more.